Hi, my name is Crystal de la Fuente, and my major is Interdisciplinary Studies EC through 6 with a minor in Special Education. What I remember most about science in elementary school and middle school was not really much. In elementary school, it wasn't a big part of our studies, and in middle school, it was pretty boring as far as I remember. Um, my feelings towards science are very bland. It was never something that was a huge part of my academics, therefore, I never grew too much interest in it. Um, my like I never struggled with it, but at the same time, it's like I never paid too much attention to it because it just wasn't that exciting to me. Um, my feelings like throughout time have remained the same with it because even to this day in my job as a resource paraprofessional, the main focus is always on reading and on math. So we don't really pay too much attention to science. It's not until maybe like a couple of months, 2-3 months before STAR happens, that we focus on it a little bit more. But even then, it doesn't really affect my department. So it's not something that really affects my daily life, especially since I'm going to SPED. I know that it'll be something that I will have to cover, but it's not like a huge part of the curriculum. So I think my lack of science experience is the reason that I have such little interest in the subject. I don't dislike it, I just don't favor it. I favor reading and English and writing much more than science. I'm not that interested in it. I think my school experiences were not significant enough to mark like me in any way because it was just never emphasized. It was never something that was very important. It was just kind of like something we did at the end of the day, and then it was never that important. We mainly just focused on vocabulary, definitions, stuff like that, which I was really good at and I really liked it because, like I said, I always was really good at English and grammar and all that stuff. So I enjoyed doing that. And I was really good at it. So it really helped with it helped with terminology, but ultimately it didn't really excite me like I really like science. I think these school experiences impacted my understanding in the way that I knew a lot of the terminology, I knew the terms and everything, but like I said, it was not that exciting. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, yes, we get to do science today. But ultimately, it did not ignite my curiosity. I think that the experience helped me learn that the ones that helped me learn the most were science experiments that were hands-on. To this day, I remember once in 5th grade, we did this science experiment or activity that was called granola geology, and it was just using granolas to simulate the different types of rocks, which were the sedimentary, igneous, metamorphic rocks, and we would simulate the rocks and exert the different forms in order to create the different rocks and stuff, which was really cool. Even to this day, it really sticks to me. So that was one of the things that really helped me learn, for example. Teachers didn't really do much to connect my home experiences to my science learning. I think it also impacted my lack of interest in the subject. My science learning was not really supported at home. It was not something that we really talked about or something that my family engaged in. It wasn't emphasized or even talked about at all, so it was not really something that was in my home life. My family did not engage in science activities or talk about it at all, so I didn't engage in any activities that involved or applied sciences. I mostly just played outside. Ever since I was little, I was always a reader, so you could always find my notes in a book. But other than that, I was never really interested in sciences. I always received science instruction in English, But my home language was Spanish. It never really played a big factor in my learning just because it was kind of like a switch. My English was at school, my Spanish was at home, so there was no differentiation needed, especially from my teacher, so that never played a factor into my learning. Um, I think science was not very emphasized, especially when I was in elementary. We didn't have things like science clubs or all that kind of stuff that we kind of have now. Um, I mean, I was in GT and sometimes we discussed science, but I thought it was kind of funny because I was the only like minority student in the GT group, so I had less experiences, but I always beat them out when it came out to like the terminology and all that stuff. But I mean, I didn't have the experiences to speak from. Um, I think that all these experiences affected me due to the fact that I don't have much interest in science overall. There are excellent and bountiful resources nowadays that we can use to just teach science in different ways, try to make it exciting and just something that the kids look forward to. I want to light a wildfire of excitement and curiosity in their minds. So I think that these resources do a great job at doing that for the kids. Um, the only memories that made me hate science were dissections. I hated dissections with a passion. I really did. In seventh grade, when we dissected frogs, it was really, really terrible because I hate frogs. They're disgusting. But I struck a deal with the teacher to let me do like the bare minimum, and then even then I cried. So it was just like a terrible experience. So that really did not make me like science at all. So middle school was not good for me because we did frogs, sharks, like it was not good. So I did not like that. Um, in my experiences, I never heard teachers or my parents correlate science to religion. So as far as that, I don't have any experience. I don't remember anything that involved any differentiation for ESL students either. I don't think that there are any elements in my culture that affect science learning. I wasn't raised with many experiences in my household, but now that I have my daughter, I do highly encourage her to get involved in animal sciences or any other sciences that she would like to do. So I advocate for that. So more than cultural, I think that it's something that it's kind of like your household. So other than that, I don't particularly correlate my culture with careers or learning science. I think it just kind of happens from what you like to do and what's going on in your home life. I mean, sure, poorer homes cannot afford to give you some of these experiences, but I think more than anything that is socioeconomic, not necessarily cultural. Um, Obviously, therefore, I'll use my passion for teaching, inspiring, and learning to support my students, so I don't think that that involves in my culture at all.